retail investing frenzy that took place over the last several weeks. The House Financial Services Committee will hold a hearing this morning on the GameStop short squeeze. That's happening today at noon. Among those testifying at the hearing, the CEO for trading app Robinhood, Reddit's co-founder and CEO Steve Huffman, and one of the short sellers, Gabe Plotkin of Melvin Capital. Joining me right now is former acting director of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, former acting White House chief of staff, and former Office of Management and Budget director, and now the founder of Exegus Capital, Mick Mulvaney. Also joining the conversation all morning long this morning, Sean Duffy and Liz Peek. Great to see everybody. Mick Mulvaney, thanks very much for being here. We wanted to ask you your take on the regulatory framework, how it might change, what you're expecting from this hearing this morning, and do you believe that will yield more regulation in financial services as a result of this?
Yeah, let's start with a hearing. And what Sean can tell you, because he and I sat on these committees together, is that Washington just doesn't understand how Wall Street works, and you're going to see evidence of that today. Unfortunately, I don't think that message got through to a lot of the folks who are testifying today. I was reading through some of Robinhood's opening statement. It's 12 pages. It's small print. It's footnoted. It's a great legal brief. This is a political show that you're going to see today, Maria. People are not going to watch it and learn much about what actually happened. They're going to watch and find out what the political temperature is in Washington, D.C. about this. And somehow, Robinhood has managed to do something that's really difficult to do in Washington these days, which is to upset both parties. Being against Robinhood right now is bipartisan. When you have circumstances like that, you're likely to see more regulation. Washington loves this idea of not letting a crisis go to waste. They're looking for excuses to regulate. My guess is they'll use this hearing today as an excuse to do what they wanted to do anyway.
Well, I think this is a really important point that you make, and that is the fact that lawmakers do not understand how Wall Street works, Mick. How are we going to change that? Because you're right. And I've witnessed that over the years, how you've got the people who are writing legislation, who are making and creating laws around an industry where they actually don't understand how it makes money. How do you change that?
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of talk today about payment for order flow and dark pools, and the people who are using those words 3/4 of the time aren't going to know what it means. Why is that? Because the skill set necessary to get a job in Congress has nothing to do with the skill set necessary to actually do the job. And members lean very, very heavily on staff, very heavily on the folks who help them get ready for these hearings. And some of them, and you'll be able to see that today. But I think what you're going to find here is that there's going to be a disconnect between what the panel wants to talk about, which is the facts and what actually happened and how the industry works, and the politicians who are going to want to be getting their 3 minutes in for their YouTube ads and so forth. It's not going to be very productive. In the longer term, what do you hope? You hope that where the rubber meets the road, which is the regulations are drawn up, which is in the executive branch, the folks there actually understand markets. The SEC understands the markets. CFPB understand the markets. You hope that there's some level of recognition there, because you're not going to see that today with the lawmakers themselves.
Yeah, let me bring Sean Duffy in on this point. Congressman Duffy, you were there when you were a member of Congress. Do you agree with this, what we're saying?
I do. And hey, Mick, it's great to see you. I'm a big fan of Robinhood and the Robinhood app and how many retail investors it's brought into the investment community. But you and I both saw the intelligence level of members on the Financial Services Committee. Do you think that it's right that, you want some of these leaders of financial services to make rules and regulations that impact retail investors? Or shouldn't we actually rely on freedom, right? The freedom to choose what's right for me and my family and taking risks that make sense for you and your family, as opposed to this nanny state idea that Democrats, I think, are going to come out with in the hearing today?
Yeah, keep in mind, Sean, it's not just the Democrats who are upset about this. Your friend of mine, Jeff Duncan, a right-wing conservative from South Carolina, wrote a letter attacking Robinhood. So it's sort of bipartisan. But you're right. I think what they should be focusing on, they probably won't, is whether or not the markets functioned properly. Again, it's not the government's job, to Sean's point, to protect people from their own decisions, but it is the government's job to make sure the market functions properly. I think that happened here. And if the folks who are presenting today do anything, I hope they can convince the folks on the panel that markets worked the way that they were supposed to work. Yes, there were difficulties here. There were difficulties there. Some folks made a lot of money. Some folks lost a lot of money. That's going to happen in any properly functioning market. I'm not sure if that message is going to come across.
Let me switch gears, ask you about the minimum wage, Mick. President Biden reiterating his support to increase the minimum wage to $15 an hour. He could get pushback, though, from the Senate. Democrats Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema both said that they do not support the increase as part of the $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Mick, do you expect the $15 minimum wage to be included in the stimulus package? And what about this $1.9 trillion bill? There's an article in the Journal this morning that says hidden in the fine print are tax increases on small business.
Sure. Anytime you've got a $1.9 trillion bill, by the way, which is larger than the budgets that I wrote when I was at the Office of Management Budget. Let's folks understand how much money that is. That's more discretionary spending than the government does in a year, and they're going to do it in a couple of weeks. So it's absolutely to be anticipated. There's going to be small print that does a bunch of stuff that nobody knows about till after they vote on the bill. That's part and parcel. But come back to your first question, which was, and I'm sorry, I forgot what your first question was, Maria. Goodness gracious.
Well, about $15 minimum wage, Mick. Do you think that's going to pass? I mean, to put a brush stroke of $15 across the country when we know that the standard of living is different across the country. What is this going to do to small business? Because I know I've had business managers on this program before, and when they say, if I'm forced to pay up $15 minimum wage, I've got to fire certain people. I've got to figure out what to cut.
Yeah, and that's what I think you're seeing pushback from Senator Sinema, from Senator Manchin, and probably quietly some other ones from other Democrats as well, because everybody in Washington knows that the states can and do set their own minimum wage. There is no need for a federal minimum wage. The only reason you're hearing about it is because states like California, Bernie Sanders, Vermont, Illinois, they want to go higher than that, but they know if they do, they'll lose out on opportunities to surrounding states. I think in Sean's home state of Wisconsin, the minimum wage is $7.25. In Illinois, I think it's above $12. Illinois would love to go higher, but they know if they do, they might lose out business to neighboring states. So it's these large Democrat states that want to raise it in their state, but they know they can't without losing out in competition. So they're trying to force their position nationwide. There's no reason for it. The cost of living in New York City is different than Montana. Montana sets its own minimum wage. That is the system that we should be following, have been following for a long time. There's no need for this federal minimum.
Yeah, it's all really an important points to make. Mick, it's great to see you this morning. Thank you, sir. We'll keep watching all of the above. Mick Mulvaney joining us this morning.